This week, Kaspersky tries to rebuild trust, AppNic database leaks, ICS is under attack according to U.S. CERT, a man can dream about OS X security, and so we fulfill our acronym quota, BSD ASLR. Jason Wood from Paladin Security comes on for some expert commentary on the U.S. CERT advisory issued this week for critical infrastructure. So stay tuned, all that and more, on to this edition of Hack Naked News. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show that brings you the security news each week. And despite popular belief, we do wear pants. It's Hack Naked News.
Most of the organizations I work with, they have
released. Yes, you read it.
Actually do
the original Linux kernel security with Linux.
So I hope everybody has their resistance built up.
Brought to you by. Make sure your team is prepared to fight off the latest cybersecurity threat. IT Pro TV is the resource to keep you and your IT team skills up to date. You can stream IT Pro TV's courses live and on demand worldwide, so there's no need to send staff to off-site training. Their team solution provides access to a supervisor portal for full control over your team's training schedule and group analytics. Go to itpro.tv/hacknaked and use the code HN30 to try it free for 7 days and receive 30% off your monthly membership for the lifetime of your active subscription. To learn more about IT Pro TV's team solution, sign up for a free demo of their supervisor portal. Do you have a website, an external presence, employees, an office? Any of these things can be compromised and attacked. How are you defending these assets? Have you penetration tested these public assets? Start 2017 by taking a proactive approach to securing your vulnerable areas. Black Hills Information Security has been helping companies find their weaknesses since 2008. Email consulting@blackhillsinfosec.com and see how they can help you sleep better at night. Welcome, everyone, to Hack Naked News. This is episode 146 for Tuesday, October 24th, 2017. Quick announcement before we get started. Of course, well, the first one is I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, and itpro.tv/hacknaked is from our fine friends at itpro.tv. You can try it free for 7 days and get 30% off your monthly membership for the lifetime of your active subscription. They have an awesome supervisor portal that allows your company to buy in bulk training opportunities for everyone in the organization, where you can get regular updates. Your supervisor can manage your training and allow for you to keep track, allow for them to keep track of your training experience and a lot more time in your schedule so that you can get trained up, because that's important. So please visit our friends at itpro.tv. Signal Sciences webcast is happening on November 2nd. It will be myself, Joff Thayer, and Zane Lackey. We'll be talking about the difficulties in protecting modern web applications today, the challenges that DevOps brings, along with the wonderful things that DevOps bring, but protecting modern web application in today's environment. And Zane will share his experiences as well. Make sure you visit securityweekly.com/Signal Sciences to register today. And now for the security news. We've got nothing to hide, says Kaspersky, offering to open up their source code to independent testing, following damaging news that Russian hackers used Kaspersky to spy on NSA contractors. An independent review of the company's source code by Q1 2018 will be followed by similar audits of its software updates and threat detection rules. Kaspersky states, with this initiative, Kaspersky Lab will engage the broader information security community and other stakeholders in validating and verifying the trustworthiness of its products, internal processes, and business operations, as well as introducing additional accountability by which the company can further demonstrate it addresses any security issues promptly and thoroughly. Clearly, Kaspersky is attempting to repair its damaged reputation in the industry, and while the U.S. government may no longer use their products, perhaps forever, they may have a chance to win back some U.S. customers, though only time will tell. Who is embarrassed about security? Well, AppNic, after some database leaks. Asia's Internet Numbers Registry, AppNic, has apologized to network owners after a slip in its WHOIS database configuration leaked credentials, including weekly hashed passwords. The breach affected those in the regional registry's maintainer and incident response team database objects during June 2017 upgrade. Those details were introduced in downloadable WHOIS data. The internet wants you to consider a career in cybersecurity. According to a study by the Center for Cyber Safety and Education, by 2022, there will be a shortage of 1.8 million information security workers. It's difficult to say how they came up with those numbers. However, they do state it is critical that today's students graduate ready to enter the workforce and are open to learning more about the growing field of cybersecurity. The U.S. CERT encourages interested candidates to review more resources for getting information about employment opportunities. A link to these resources can be found in our show notes page at wiki.securityweekly.com. Excuse me, I thought this was a very important message to send out as we just completed a conference, a one-day conference for Cyber Patriot students here in Rhode Island. The U.S. CERT was also busy this week issuing warning of attacks against industrial control systems. The U.S. CERT issued a technical alert advisory on October 21st, warning advanced persistent threat activity targeting energy and other critical infrastructure sectors across the U.S. The technical alert was compiled with information provided from both the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI. According to the analysis, energy, nuclear, water, aviation, critical manufacturing sectors are at risk from an ongoing cyber attack. Well, I mean, that's pretty much table stakes. There are some guidelines that have been published, and we'll cover a little more in depth in our expert commentary today. OS X malware has spread via compromised software downloads. El Media Player by software developer Eltima. That's a very strange, it doesn't roll off your tongue. Eltima boasts over 1 million users, some of whom may have also unwittingly installed Proton, a remote access Trojan, which specifically targets Macs for the purpose of spying and theft. Attackers also managed to compromise a second Eltima product, Falx. They just need to rename all their, that's just terrible. I mean, at least the malware has a straightforward name. Proton, we get that. Falx, with the same malware was infecting that software as well. Seems to be a trend when attacking OS X, embedding yourself or your software inside of software that is already trusted by the user. Not sure if I would trust software from Eltima, certainly not the way they name them. Apple, of course, has colorful commentary and insightful comments on this security issue, as an Apple spokesperson told ZDNet that the company, and I quote, "At this stage, we have nothing to add." It would be beneficial to Apple users, for one, to acknowledge security issues, other than saying basically no comment every time there's a security issue, and two, create a plan to offer enhanced security features to OS X users, such as some built-in malware detection and prevention capabilities. Hey, I mean, a man can dream, can't he? Let me dream, damn it. NetBSD, OpenBSD improve kernel security randomly. The folks at NetBSD have released their first cut of code to implant kernel address space layout randomization for 64-bit AMD processors. Now, the OpenBSD project offered its first look at a similar approach back in June, referred to as CARL, Kernel Address Randomized Links. That effort became mainstream earlier this month in OpenBSD 6.2. The Linux kernel team has been playing around with address space layout randomization since 2001. Of course, all of these implementations, well, at least the implementations between Linux and BSD might differ, but they're all messing around with it. And there's lots more information in the show notes. With that, we're going to take a short break and listen to some ads, which are awesome, from our awesome sponsors. And we're going to come back, so stay tuned with Jason Paladin of Wood Security. No, Jason Wood of Paladin Security even, so stay tuned. Has your network been breached? Cybereason can help you answer this question. Cybereason products hunt for threats within your network and eliminate them in real time. To Cybereason, real time means within seconds. Founded by former military hackers who don't play by the rules, they've built this experience into their platform. Harness ingenuity and imagination, not just code, to defeat attackers. Cybereason. Disrupt the adversary and let the hunt begin. Ho, 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 ho! We're giving a Kung Fu webcast. That's right, securityweekly.com/Kung Fu Everyone will be kung fu fighting. Really, was everybody kung fu fighting? I don't think everybody was kung fu fighting. Maybe certain people were kung fu fighting. It certainly wasn't everybody. But we're going to be kung fu fighting, talking about everything that I needed to know about security I learned from watching kung fu movies. That'll be tomorrow from 3 to 4 p.m. Make sure you check it out. It is the last time I'll be giving this presentation, and it'll be recorded for posterity. And now, Jason Paladin from WHOIS Security joins us. You like that, huh? I just changed your name and the name of your company all in one fell swoop. That's it.
I appreciate that PR release there. Man, I just went out to everybody. So, yeah, my name's Jason Paladin now.
And your company's now WHOIS Security. I think it's very fitting.
WHOIS Security. There we go. So, yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about this technical advisory released by US CERT. In collaboration in between DHS and the FBI. Paul and I both obviously caught on to this one, and I decided to take an approach of looking a little bit more at the details of what it is they're saying. The data, like I said, came from an investigation between the two different agencies. We've already talked about attacks on critical infrastructure previously, but we really haven't gotten into how are the attackers, what's being reported that the attackers are actually doing. And so I thought we'd get into that. It's a little interesting, and in some ways, it's a little frightening to see what some of these techniques are, because if they're using that, then it kind of implies it might be working, and these are not rocket science attacks. So basically, what is happening? Well, it's not just critical infrastructure that's being attacked. It's actually the attackers are going after what are considered trusted third parties to critical infrastructure organizations. So somebody that's doing business with, let's say, an airport or some kind of electric utility or what have you. And so they're going after them because their security may be a bit softer than they would have actually at the power utility that they were ultimately looking at, or an airport. And then from there, they establish their foothold, and they pivot back into the CI organization. So what are they doing? Well, oddly enough, they're starting off with phishing because, as most folks can tell you, phishing works pretty dang well. I've done engagements where we've actually sent out let's say 75 messages and had 90 responses back to it from different hosts. So, sometimes you get a good one and people pass it around. So the attackers are using phishing to go after these organizations, and they're including links to documents to be downloaded. Now, here's the trick that's coming into play. The link is actually not to a website or anything like that. It is to an SMB server. So it'll be something like file:// server name / document.dotm or docx or whatever it is. What's interesting about this is when you go to open that, your computer sees, oh, it's a Office document file. I will open up Word, and then Word will send across your NTLM challenge response hash to the SMB server. At that point, the attacker can collect that hash and then attempt to crack it on their own time. Now, what's a little freaky about that, obviously, is that implies somebody is allowing SMB out of their network. And that's being transmitted over the internet to some other place. From there, the passwords get cracked, and the attackers use those credentials to get back into the organizations, frequently via VPN, and start to establish their beachhead inside of the organization. This is that trusted third party. And then they do some things to start collecting more credentials. And then they go back to that, pulling via SMB over the internet. And this time what they do is they modify the .lnk property. So for the icon that a document has, they change that path. They reconfigure that inside the document properties to point to their SMB server over the internet. So anytime anybody views it, and they don't even have to necessarily open up the document, as their computer tries to pull down the icon file, it's going to send that challenge response from your operating system over to our attacker, who again turns around and starts cracking passwords. I think most folks who do penetration testing can tell you passwords are frequently very weak. One of my favorites is you do things like guessing for fall 2017 ! Or something like that, and you find that you get success with it. People change their password based on the season and the year. From there, they're deploying web shells and things like that into the environment. Now, the technical advisory includes indicators of compromise, as they're calling it, Yarrow rules and snort rules. Now, I did take a quick look at some of those rules, and I think maybe they need a little bit of QA and checking before you deploy them. My favorite, I think, was the Yarrow rule that says this rule detects malware.
Yeah, I need that.
And that was it.
That's a good rule.
Yeah. I don't know what it's detecting beyond that, but it's looking for bad stuff.
I mean, who needs security products when we have a Yarrow rule that just can detect malware? I mean, that's great.
That's right. All the malwares, apparently. My comment was, why don't we put an asterisk in here somewhere?
That's right.
And just make it a wild card.
I mean, there's, like I said before the show, there's files on your computer. Those could be viruses, so you should probably remove them.
Yes, yeah, and I would start with nt.dll.
That's right.
Or ntdll.exe. So what do we do about this? Well, I mean, phishing is always going to be a problem. It's been a problem for years, and it's going to continue to be because it works really well. But really, allowing SMB out of your network over the internet to some other system,
yeah, I mean,
that shouldn't happen.
That's the most. I can't get over that part. Like as soon as we got to that part, I was somewhat lost. Like, why would you allow that to happen?
Yeah. I mean, as I was reading, when I hit that, I just stumbled because it was like, you're kidding me. TCP 445 is being allowed outbound.
When I worked at the university in 2003,
Firewall 101.
Yeah, it took maybe 6 months or so and multiple worms to run around, but eventually we're able to shut off, and most universities did at that time, turn off and greatly limit port 445, especially out to the internet, and all the SMB ports out to the internet, and even controlled it internally, because worms would rip through the network. And then we had WannaCry, which was kind of like a reminder that you should do that. And now to have this campaign rely on that process, I mean, that's just, step one.
Yeah, and the bulletin starts off with advanced persistent threat, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, this isn't taking very advanced work. Maybe persistent, and they may be planning and doing reconnaissance, but this is not hard stuff. So start off by blocking 445, and then you might want to watch your firewall activity and see what's getting blocked. Because you could have a problem here with those hosts.
They also specifically called out a Symantec paper that was published in September of this year that called out the Dragonfly 2.0, which is a group that regularly targets ICS institutions. And that group made a resurgence. And I just wanted to point out, for additional information on that, you can go to episode 530. Hold on. I lost it now. I think here it is. Episode 530 of Paul Security Weekly. Mike Asante from the SANS Institute, a world-renowned expert, of course, in industrial control system security, talked about things like Symantec's Dragonfly 2.0 and the research that they've done. So it's further reference for you.
Yeah. There's some good information in the show notes to go take a look at, links to papers and things like that. You can also check out some other articles that have been written on this particular topic. I thought it would be interesting to take a brief look at some of the techniques that are actually being used. And if you're having these problems to where you're allowing 445 out of your environment and things like that, it's probably time to start looking at up in the game a little bit here. And like I said, it's a little freaky to me that these attacks have any kind of success, particularly when they're tied back into organizations like an airport. What could go wrong, right?
Yeah.
So take a look at it. Check out the IOCs. Like I said, might run them through some QA because they look a little. They might need a little more work, but I think it's interesting. Anytime we get a little bit of insight to see what's working and going on with attackers, it is always an interesting thing to review and then compare to our environment.
Fantastic, Jason. Thank you Jason Paladin from Wood Security. Thank you very much for joining us today. That concludes this edition of Hack Naked News. See everyone next week. Thanks for listening and watching.